Welcome to the United Stand. My name's Levin2UK. We got the fan forum for you. I'm joined by four great panelists who we're going to be guiding you through. And Kev, I saw you earlier saying that we should rename it to the Therapy Forum. That is very appropriate considering the results today, considering the results we've had over the past couple of weeks. Obviously, we're joined by Kev, we're joined by Alex, Jordan, and the amazing Jay as well. Guys, a lot happened today. I feel like a broken record talking about some of the issues we had, and I'm sure we'll get into everything. But I will just start out by reading out some things that I've been seeing all over social media since the game is done. Manchester United have conceded more goals at Old Trafford this season with 11 than Norwich City at Carrow Road, 10. Man United have had more shots on target against their own keeper than against Man City's, says a lot. Man City have had more shots on target, 5, than we've had touches in their box, 3. This was an awful performance. It wasn't, 5-0 in the scoreline like it was at Liverpool, but 2-0 is incredibly generous. We were never in this game. It really was just an absolute shambles. Kev, people have been talking non-stop about Ollie and whether he's the right man for the job, arguing, blah, blah, blah. And I think most people have come to the conclusion he's probably not. But one thing that people who support Ollie always seem to say is that in these bigger matches, he's typically been able to find some sort of success. He's not been awful in these matches. The matches where he's usually quite bad is where we're against a team we clearly should be beating and he struggles. It's just not been that, though, this season thus far. What do you make of that performance? What do you think of what happens next? Like, just give me the rundown on what you're thinking right now, Kev.
It is simply not sustainable. You look at that team that he puts out today, and straight away you look at it, right? We've got 3 centre-backs, a left and a right back, which were falling back into what was a back 5. And you're just playing into the hands of Manchester City. They have come to Old Trafford today, rolled us over on our back and tickled our belly. If that was a boxing fight, it'd have been over in the first round. The minute Manchester, I said it in the watch-along with Mark, right? I said, it's all right setting up like that if you're going to play counter-attacking football. But I said, my worry is if Manchester City score early, which they did, your game plan totally goes out the window. You cannot keep with that 3 at the back. City play with a false number 9. So you've got 3 people in effect at the back, marking thin air, trying to track runners coming through midfield. Listen, it's embarrassing. And you mentioned that Liverpool game there. This is up there with it. Regardless of whether it was 2-0, the Liverpool game was 5-0. This could have been 5-0 easily today if it hadn't been for David De Gea. It's embarrassing. And the fact that we never even lay a glove on him. And Ole Gunnar Solskjær loves these analogies about boxers. And he mentioned Tyson Fury in the lead up to it. This would be like putting me, if I'm Manchester United, in against Tyson Fury. Put me in the ring against him. I would not lay a glove on him. I would get nowhere near him. He would just toy with me, probably batter the shit out of me. And that's exactly what's happened to Manchester United today. Where do we go from here? I think we all are probably in the same boat that Ole Gunnar Solskjær is not the right man for Manchester United. What a perfect time it would be to make a managerial change now going into the international weekend. Will it happen? I've got zero faith that Manchester United will act on this. Absolute zero faith. And you look at a club like Tottenham, that we beat them 3-0 and they react to a situation where Manchester United have beat them. This would have been a given years ago. But now a club like Tottenham are even reacting to Man United beating them. That shows you how far we have fallen. And I touch on that today. It's just about as bad as it gets. It's just as bad as the Liverpool result. Yes, they scored 5. City have scored 2 today. And like I say, they just absolutely toyed with us. Them players were chasing shadows, mismatches all over the field. The likes of Fred and McTominay trying to chase the likes of Gundogan and Phil Foden and all the rest of them blue-nosed knobheads. But, it's tough. It's tough to take. But we knew that when it got into these big games, when we play teams who have a plan, we're going to come unstuck. And you look at, what was it? Everton got a draw at Old Trafford. Games like that.
Should have been a win as well.
Leicester beat us 4-2. De Gea was man of the match. And we're just going on and on. And the better teams that we're facing, there is no game plan. There is absolutely nothing. And The best thing for Ole Gunnar Solskjær, if he loves Manchester United as much as he says he does, would be to walk away from Old Trafford. I know it will be a tough decision, but after seeing that today and the Liverpool performance, if he would just for the good of Manchester United make a decision based on that he cannot take this club any further, I'd be so respectful of him and respectful of everything he's done for Manchester United. But this is Liverpool was the crossroads for me. It will get worse. Imagine we've still got to play City and Liverpool away and Chelsea. We've got to throw into the mix as well. We're going to be. The storm is just about to start. You think it started? You know, there's more to come.
Kev, you used the example of boxers. Ollie's been using his examples. I've seen people comparing it to being a training session for City. Alex, I was reminded of being a year 11 in school and taking, when you take the year 7's football and you and your mates start kicking it around and you're laughing and the teacher has to tell you, give them the ball back, give them, that's what it reminded me of. When you have that, when everybody watching around the world is watching this match, feeling some sort of way about that, and then on top of that, you have the City fans chanting for Ole, like just non-stop. It was like I think it was throughout the whole second half, really, that they were just chanting for him. This can't continue, right? Like, this is really embarrassing for us, Alex.
What you just said, I tweeted out, I think it was half-time. It's like watching men against boys. It's like if I was playing in my garden with my 5-year-old and him just not being able to touch the ball, it was like that. They're sitting back. Before they scored their first goal, they're sitting back, and then they're sitting back the way that we were, in the sense that we were letting, like they would be nearly in our final third, like Kevin De Bruyne would be on the ball, and no one would go to him. They'd still be like standing off him, giving him all that space and time on the ball. So when they scored, it was just a matter of time until it happened. Like Liverpool beat us 5-0 the other day without coming out of second gear. I don't think City even came out of first gear. They were literally like that first 15 minutes that we just felt completely helpless because we couldn't even touch the ball. And it's not going to end. I said after, I think it was the Spurs game, like he had 3 games to save his job. With this incompetent loser mentality board, 1 win, 1 draw and 1 loss isn't too bad. And the fact it was like Jordan said on WhatsApp, it feels like a 6-0, and it was like a 6-0 in terms of the performance. But to them, it's 2-0. They're like, oh, City are a good team. We know we're a bit behind them. So to only lose 2-0 isn't that bad. So we'll give him some more time. And then they'll give him probably another 3 games. So then, what is it? Watford, in the league, it would be Watford, Chelsea and Arsenal. So we'll probably beat Watford and then lose to Chelsea and Arsenal. And they'll be like, oh, well, at least we got the win back against Watford, so we can just continue. He did show signs of improvements there. And it's just going to be a never-ending cycle. They'll probably hope that we can see out now this tough run of fixtures, and then it's on paper easy fixtures. But we've seen against, like what Kev was saying, against Villa, against Everton, any team that has any sort of remote game plan can beat us easily. You saw Villa beat us, and then look what's happened to Villa since then. They've lost like 5 in a row, is it? Against teams that should be way worse than us. Like after the summer we had, he signed Sancho for 75 million, never plays, and brought him on. I was saying to you before we went on the air, what is really damning was the fans chanting Van der Beek's name all second half, it seems, as soon as he started to warm up. And then the cheer he got when he came on just shows how everyone wants him to play, and it's ridiculous. So between Sancho and Van der Beek, that's over 100 million's worth of players that, whether you believe he bought them or not, but that's who he has in his squad, 110 mil worth of players, and he doesn't give them a chance. And it's the same thing every single game. They say about the theory of insanity is repeating the same thing time and time again and expecting different results. And it's what we do every single time. Just the McFred midfield we know doesn't work, but we still know going into the next game, if Ollie keeps his job, that it is going to be them again. And it's just going to be like the same team every single time. And I just feel so sorry for Ronaldo coming into this team. But I know Juventus are bad as well, but he really could have had like the pick of teams in the world, really, with his ability. And to come back into this joke is just depressing times. I'm just pissed off because I know 100% they're not going to act. He's going to be still in the job after the international break, and we missed out on Conte.
Well, Romano's just tweeted, Levin, on Solskjaer's future. Solskjaer quote has said he doesn't think he's on borrowed time. He has good communication with the club all the time, which is upfront and honest. I work for Man United and I want the best for Man United. As long as I am here, I want to improve this. That doesn't sound like somebody that's under pressure.
Exactly. He's not going to get sacked. It's a fucking joke.
He's not under pressure. That team today, when it came out, was set up to not lose 5-0, not to win, just to not lose 5-0. What result can we get to keep us in a job? The sad thing is, I look at it and I feel like Alex just said, behind closed doors, Ollie will be happy with a 2-0. He'll take that. He'll absolutely take that. And that's what's really disappointing. He's got this team set up now where he's trying to play with the 3 centre-backs. They're not comfortable with it, which is why we're giving away, stupid goals and scoring own goals, because they don't know the system. It's not their system. That's not what they do. Ollie's not comfortable with it because as soon as we get an injury, he reverts back to type. It's absolute madness. We said the other day on the fan forum, about the early kickoff on a Saturday. Well, congratulations, Ollie. Weekend completely ruined again. Absolutely destroyed. Pelters all weekend, and we've got to sit back and watch our rivals pick up points and leave us potentially in a position where we can end up 10th. What does it take? When after the Liverpool game, when the stories come out about 3 games to save his job, what were they expecting? Were they expecting 3 wins, 2 wins and a draw? Like, how are these 3 results good enough to keep him in a job? Like, what standards are we now setting as a club? And we're talking, I said this months ago. I said about Ollie. Ollie should do the right thing and walk away, because it was clear the board were never going to sack their puppet. They're happy with him in charge. They're happy with the project moving forward. They want a challenge for top 4. Well, listen, they need to wake up and look at this, because we ain't getting in the top 4. I'm Mark saying, with the squad we've got, it's impossible for us to not finish in the top 4. It really is possible that we're not going to finish in the top 4 this season, guys.
It's one of these things where the fact that we're in that kind of a position, and that is almost scarier than some of the results we've seen. I want to come to you, Jay. Now, I'm sure it must be frustrating for you, because you're somebody who I know has spoken for a long time about just realizing this guy is not the guy to be our manager to take us forward. And I want to get your thoughts on things. Of course, there is now conversation that's going to be had about, people a couple of weeks ago admitted, yeah, we're not in a title race, but it's a race for top 4. Now it seems like, are we in that race for top 4 anymore? Like, is that going to be something that's possible for us? Jay, just give me your thoughts on everything right now at the club.
Okay, first of all, hi everybody for watching another edition of A Therapy Stand. It seems to be every weekend it's a therapy session with us guys. First and foremost, guys, I'm going to stake my reputation on this. If Solskjær is still the manager in May, we are not top 4. We're playing Thursday night football in the Ukraine next September. Mark my words, clip it up here and now. You can
Europa
quote me all you want.
as well, not Europa.
Yeah, conference.
Yeah. Now, I said many times that Solskjær was always depth, and I was branded as being toxic, being old-fashioned, not knowing ball, quote unquote. Well, everybody said that. Go fuck yourselves right here and now. I know ball. I'm watching the club probably longer than you had fucking balls. Right. Any manager that plays Mac Shite, aka Mac Fred in midfield, game after game after game, deserves a sack. Then he subsequently plays Mac Shite, a centre back, Lindelof and Maguire. A lot today will be made out of boys' own goal. But where's Bruno Fernandes? Bruno Fernandes did not shut down the cross. And I'm a massive fan of Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes trots over. He literally trots over. Because I think Bruno Fernandes today, he was missing action. He down toes. He tried over to Cancelo. His job today was shut the cross down. He didn't. That's on Bruno. Second cross came in. Armo Bissaka. He didn't shut the cross down. We could not today, guys, cope with Man City switching the play from left to right. We couldn't cope with it. And again, how many times have we said from crosses, we just cannot deal with crosses, even though apparently we got a new set piece coach. Some stats. You opened the show with stats, Levin. City today, 16 attempts, we had 5. City today had 821 attempted passes. We had 389. And City, for the first 20 minutes, had 78% possession. We 22. It took us 25 minutes to get out of our own half at home. Okay? But I guess that's what happens when you've got a Sunday League manager up against an elite manager. That is very simple. And the Red Army can sing and chant all they want about eyes at the wheel. They're probably now waiting in the car park for his fucking autograph. Well, if they want to be deluded sheep, let them off. Good up to them. They're probably going to make a store then to buy some jerseys. This manager is nothing more than a patsy for the board and for the Glazers, because he's there because he protects the brand. He protects them against the likes of us, the real fans. I'm going past being angry. Seriously, I'm no longer angry, because what's the point? You know, I now have reached the point where I'm apathetic. You go into games, and today it was a matter of, Jesus, how much are we going to lose by? Mm-hmm. And I put out a tweet in the second half, and I said, City are toying with us like a cat with a ball of wool. See, like you're all students of the game here, and we've called out Maguire and Lindelof for the lack of physicality, and Zapata bodied Maguire in the midweek game. So tonight there's no Jamie Vardy, there's no Zapata, there's no Iniacho, which Maguire got bodied against physical strikers. But City don't play with a physical striker because they don't play with a striker. City ripped us open tonight, guys, with stealth, not strength. So if Maguire Lindelof can't deal with physicality, we know that, even though they're both 6 foot plus, and neither can they deal with stealth, the quick interchange of passing that City do, and the switch of play from left to right wing, they can't deal with that. What can they deal with? I ask you now, guys, what can they deal with? Why did we play 5 at the back against City when clearly City, as I said, they're going to play at us like a ball on a string? Then at halftime, the player for me should have come off, should have been either Shaw for Telles, because at least Telles would bomb down the line and not go crossing the box for Ronaldo. But no, as usual, the manager shit the bed, took the easy scapegoat that was Bailly. Now, I know a lot of the fans will say, oh, Bailly's at Radic, he's this, he's that. But lads, I'd rate Bailly on form, and I basically his form on one performance above either of Maguire and Lindelof. Mm-hmm. But of course, they stay in the pitch. Matomale, again, did a great impression of being a ghost. I know the lad is blonde, but he looks like a ghost on the pitch. Who else today? Was Fred playing? Another ghost? Guys, we are an absolute fucking shambles. We're a shit show. I don't want to go on and rant away, but Solskjær is the only manager in world football that has the ultimate cheat code, which is Ronaldo, and he doesn't know how to use it. Like, lads, I gave him the benefit of the doubt in August. I said, clean slate, blah, 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 blah. When, along with Jordan, we both agreed, get him out after the Europa League capitulation. And Jordan and I were on the show with some of you others, and we were calling for Conte last May. And some of you, I'm not going to name anyone's name, oh no, don't get Conte, he doesn't play the United way, blah, blah, blah. Well, guys, what's the United way anymore? Kevin, you said it's winning. And I agree with you, it is winning. But right now, the United way is capitulation, lackluster performance, hire your mates, and all of a sudden now you've got lifelong fans that are watching, such as myself, that are watching the game and are just apathetic. I said, I'm going past angry. Literally, I'm not angry anymore. I'm apathetic.
Yeah, we were saying the other day about Ollie, about he's at risk of damaging the good he did at the beginning of his reign, and I feel that's done now. Like, I was having a conversation with someone on the Insta Live yesterday, and I was asking about the whole Mourinho thing, following on from something Mark was saying, which was, I said, look, if we had backed Mourinho over the whole Pogba situation, because he wanted to move Pogba on, and we give him the centre back and give him more money, so if we give Mourinho another 400 million and allowed him to do what he wanted to do with Pogba, would we be in a better position than we're in today? And that person said to me, he said, I feel like, it's a hypothetical question. We can look back and ask that question. He said, but I'll tell you something. We'll never look back and ask that question about Ollie. And he's right. None of us are ever going to look back, whatever happens going forward now with other managers, and go, yeah, but if we give Ollie a CDM, it would be different. He's finished, guys.
The fan opinion from Old Trafford is definitely swaying. I've been to Old Trafford a couple of times this year, and you would be quite surprised by what I would class as hardcore United fans in the Stretford end or whatever come out with. But for me today, a big turning point, and I think Alex mentioned it. I mean, I penciled in there that Donny van der Beek went out to warm up in the 60th minute. So I thought, whoa, at last. So there was sarcastic cheers as he went to warm up. 79 minutes he brought him on. I even said to my son, he went, oh, do you think he'll bring Van der Beek on? I went, he'll probably let him warm up for half an hour and bring him on, for the last 2 minutes. So he brought him on in the 79th minute. And the United fans, whether it was a combination of Fred going off and, Donny van der Beek coming on, them cheers were loud. There's 76,000 fans, whatever, in that crowd. They were sarcastic cheers, and they are fans that are just fed up now. And it's like it's run its course. It's like almost like a relationship with Ole Gunnar Solskjær. When you break up with someone and it's not toxic or anything, but you just get to the point where you're like, well, you're getting on my tits, vice versa. Shall we just split up? And you're not bothered, you just go, well,
you can't be arsed
ways.
Anymore.
Yeah,
you can't be arsed.
Can I just say on your point of that, the Stretford end, how numerous people now in the Stretford end are starting to lose faith in him. And I don't doubt that you're right. But with that said, if they do that, I don't understand the logic, and they didn't today, but this is for other games. So they're losing faith in him, but they'll still chant his name and stuff. And that's what I don't understand. You can be supportive of the team, cheer the team on, even don't boo. I don't necessarily agree with the booing, but if you're still at the end of the game chanting his name after we lose, then the Glazers, that's not going to put pressure on them to act. And yeah, okay, we stand by the manager. United fans are literally the best in the world at standing by the manager to a fault at times, to the point of Moyes was still getting his name chanted during all those embarrassing games. And I just feel like you can support the team and cheer the team on at the game without chanting Ollie's name. I feel like if you're actually against him.
Yeah, I said this a couple of weeks ago, and I still stand by it. I do think a large amount now of people who maybe are telling themselves or telling people that they still support the manager or whatever, I feel like a lot of it is more so, it's less about the actual manager and the team and more about, I just don't want to be seen as agreeing with that group of people, right? That's how.
And that's what took me so long to turn as well, to be honest. That exact point is why I took so long, because there's so many people that are being toxic about it for so long. I'm like, I don't want to be involved with them, but now it's just got to a point where it's just using your brain. You have to be no, we need a change. Yeah,
no, and I get it, just because I've actually experienced it. I had a guy, right, who DM'd me and he said, yo, you're Ollie and Ollie out, and I sent him Ollie out. And he wrote, I kid you not, he wrote a whole essay of why I'm dumb for being Ollie out, and didn't ask me any reasons why. And he was saying stuff that I hadn't said. I'll show you guys after. So he was literally saying stuff that I haven't said. And I was like, bro, I appreciate you just wrote all that out, right? But you realize none of those are things that I agree with, right? And it's just because there is just a narrative now around, if you're Ollie out, you must think he's a PT, or you must think he's got rotten teeth. Just these silly things, right? I want to talk about the game for a moment and the approach to the game. We've talked a bit about, how the actual lineup in itself just didn't really make much sense, and we'll get into that more. One thing that really frustrated me, guys, is City didn't really pull out anything that was a surprise. We did the show on Thursday, right, with Adam, and I remember talking about how City press, right? And I remember City make the pitch compact, they look to press you against the touchline, and they will make it difficult for us to progress up the pitch that way. And that's how you progress with a five at the back. That's exactly what they did. And it's we didn't have an approach to that. We didn't have a way of dealing with that. If you look at that first goal, the only reason why they had possession in that first goal is because we lost it because Aaron Wan-Bissaka played a long ball. And obviously it's a bit removed, so people might not remember that. But the reason he had to play the long ball was because we just got pressed against the touchline and he had no options. He didn't know what to do with it. And it's these are the things that I see and I go, I'm not an analyst. I don't have coaching badges. I don't know anything. I'm just a watcher. And I knew that was going to happen. Why was there not a plan in place to stop that from happening or to deal with that going forward? And on the lineup as well, you look at the lineup and you go, there's basic things you think about when you have a lineup for a football team. You think about, okay, how are we going to keep the ball when we have it? All right, let's make sure we have someone that's good at ball retention. that lineup didn't have any ball retention. You think about, we need an outball. If we're going to try counter-attack against City, we need an outball. We need someone who's going to be an outlet. And we didn't really have that either. So it was sort of like, you're looking at the lineup going, so what are we we just going to defend and try sit in a mid-block and try contain it? Like, what was the idea? That, you know, I think it was you, Kev, that said it. It was like, there was never any sort of, we're going to go out there and we're going to try and steal the game. It was more so, let's just see if we can hold on for the whole 90 minutes. And that in itself is very, very worrying. I don't really see, you know, we talk about directional time. There doesn't seem to be any sort of idea or identity. There's who are we as a team right now? It's so hard to even find any sorts of answers about these things. Jordan, you know, you're saying, are you with me there? Like when you saw the lineup, were you not a bit like, what?
Like I said at the beginning, that team was set up for damage limitation. Listen, we're not going to attack them and win. So let's just try and keep the scoreline respectable. And if we can nick something, we'll nick something. Like there was nothing. You're right. There was nothing about that team I looked at and gone, okay, well, if we go down that route with it, potentially we could get something. Like it's so disheartening. You look at those players on the bench, and then it's, you know, rival fans are like, oh, is Ollie making these world-class players poor, or are we signing poor players? They're not poor players. Like, how many times have we got to keep trying to rebuild within the rebuild? Like we can all sit back and say he was given everything that he's asked for. It's easy to sit back now and go, okay, it's not we wasn't given a CDM. Didn't ask for a CDM. He asked for a right winger, and he's not playing a right winger. So he's got to be held accountable for it. In any other job, you'd be sacked for this kind of performance. You can't do this. If you turn up in a sales job and you're consistently not selling, not closing deals, your ass is gone out of that call center. So get him out of the dugout. It's ridiculous.
It's one of these
Jordan,
things, yeah. And
lads, I'd argue, even if, for argument's sake, he was given a CDM, I firmly believe he still would have played one of Fred or McTominay beside him in a 4-2-3-1. I still don't believe, even if he had got a CDM instead of Sancho, that he would have played 4-3-3, because I don't believe anymore that that's his philosophy. His philosophy, as you pointed out there, Levin, it's damage limitation. And we use the phrase because we've been nice to him and we said he's risk averse. That basically means that he's a coward for me.
That's all you have to see there.
Those super chats.
Yeah, that's super chat coming out. Gary Neville on Sky Sports saying Ollie should stay in the job to the summer. Listen,
oh Jesus Christ,
he's part of the problem for me.
Have you seen how many managers he
Major
sacked
part.
at Salford? He's such a hypocrite with how he acts towards United.
I really hope that's not true, by the way. I'm trying to see if I can find a quote of it on Twitter or something, because I really hope that's not true. Look.
Oh my God.
Is that the real Ricky in chat saying this is pure torture right now? Look, I think we're at a stage, where there is, it's disheartening, because on the topic of like players, these aren't bad players, right? A lot of these players are internationals, even though now some of them are no longer internationals because of Oli, but a lot of these players are internationals, they're intelligent footballers, they're talented footballers, and you watch certain things that are happening on the pitch, and when you have such great players that look like they don't know what to do, like, when is it going to get to a point where this now is just like not even possible on the players' behalf? Because it still feels like the players are somewhat, we've not seen any players rebelling really. Like that element of, the players really, making a decision for themselves doesn't really seem like we're all the way there. And maybe that will change after today, but that's something that surely has to be next, because all we ever hear is, the players who aren't playing are unhappy. Yeah, sure. But we constantly see sort of the players almost defending it and acting like it's okay. Like, eventually we are just going to get there, right? Oh, yeah, it's been bad, but we are going to get there. We need to be better as a team. This is very, very weird. Is it really just that Ollie is amazing for them? And like, they just like him so much that they just don't want to see him go. They don't, maybe he's, he gives them extra days off. Like, whatever it is, there must be something he's doing that just really makes them like him. And I can't seem to get what it is. Look, let's move forward a bit from talking about this game, because I'm sure we could talk a lot about this game. A big concern I have, and I still have this concern more than ever. Let's say the decision is made that he has to go and the board finally do the right thing. Do you trust this board to now appoint the right person in place? Because a lot of the options we had are no longer options. right? Zidane, for many people, seems to be the clear option, but apparently he's not interested in the job. So what are we going to do? Are we going to have an interim for the end of the... Like, I don't trust the people above Ollie to make that right decision. And I want to know from all of you guys what you think that next direction is. What now needs to happen over the next sort of year or so, because we've got certain players who will probably be out of the club next year. We've got certain players who are, you know, they're only getting older, right? And so time is ticking. Kev, I'll come to you first. What happens now? Do the people above Ollie make the right decision, and what is that decision?
They won't make the right decision, but if I was them, I'd be straight on the phone to your man from Ajax and start wording him up now and saying, would you be interested in it now? Would you wait till the end of the season? Just so you know where you are. Even if you have to stay, let's say, with Ollie until the end of the season, until you can get that into place. I know that's a scary thought, like, but I just don't trust them to get this right. We need this next manager now. I think we always knew when Sir Alex Ferguson left, it wasn't going to be a smooth transition, and it's proved to be that. You will never replace that man. But the way our board work and the way that the Glazers work, I would not be surprised if, Solskjær left the job. And honestly, and if Steve Bruce or Mark Hughes rocks up at United, and they went back down that route, that is the incompetence of these owners and the way that they work. They'll probably go down that same thing and think, used to play for United, we'll just throw them in. They're the puppet, on the strings. We'll control them. Look the part, can talk the talk. They can claim to have the United DNA running through them and all that bollocks, and they'll love that. But us as supporters and the players, you've got the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, Cavani, for Christ's sake. Once them players start talking behind closed doors in the changing room, behind Ollie's back or whatever, he's going to be done. He'll get found out really, really quickly. Once that disharmony sets in, he's a goner. He cannot survive it, but he probably will.
Alex, I know you're high on Ten Hag. Is that the direction you go in if you were the people above Ollie right now?
We were talking about it before we went on the air, aren't we? That you think there's no way to do it. I was saying, if you offer him enough money, and like realistically speaking, Ajax aren't going to win the Champions League in my opinion. But then, like what you said, Levin, they did come close under Ten Hag before. And then you said they're even better now than back in those Van der Beek, Ziyech days. So it's a difficult one. Like, I think everyone would accept keeping Ollie till the end of the season if it was like publicly announced that at the end of the season, Ten Hag is coming in and taking over. Then I'd be like, okay, fine. It would really annoy me because the season's a write-off, and this season is like, I think the best squad we're going to have for a while, because at the end of the season, Cavani's gone, Pogba's probably gone, Van der Beek, if Ollie stays, is gone. Probably. So we're going to lose so many players that could be crucial. Like it's just such a waste of a season. Ronaldo will be a whole year older, but because we missed out on Conte, like we had the chance after that Spurs game. If we'd have bought Conte in, the league still wasn't that far out of sight if he could have changed it around. You saw what happened with Chelsea when they bought in Tuchel. They were in a similar position to us with Lampard. They bought Tuchel in, they won the Champions League. We're still top of our group in the Champions League. Who knows? I know Conte isn't necessarily the best in Europe, but you don't know if he had the right players, if something could happen there. Like, it just shows with a ruthless board that you can achieve stuff still in the season. Like, but if we stick with Ollie and everything's out of sight, all we have left to play for really is like the FA Cup. And even then, there are teams in the Premier League with how we're playing at the moment that are way better than us. And it's just, this season there was no excuse. Like, I look back on it and I was probably stupid that I probably should have turned on him like when Jay and Jordan did after the Europa League, because that wasn't good enough to lose to a team like that who are now like 13th in the Liga in a massive game like that. And he's had multiple times to win trophies and then he's bottled it. But because then in the summer, then we could have got a new manager in. But now we've like snookered ourselves. We're missing out on Conte. Like I said before we went on the air, the only thing I can think that they'll do is try to get Poch out of PSG, because I think that it isn't all smooth sailing for him at PSG, but I just don't want Poch. So I have no clue what we can do. Bring in a caretaker, but like Kev said, it probably would end up being like Sparky or Bruce. But at the end of the day, are they going to do a worse job than Holly is at the moment? You could make a case that they won't.
We need to bring Jay in. I think after Jay's performance.
Is that they might bring in Roy Keane in to sort them out. Imagine Keane going in.
Yo, you know what? Yeah. So I want to come to you, Jordan. It's funny because Alex mentioned Poch. I think a lot of people still do like Poch. I think a lot of people don't rate Poch. People are very divided on him. And so instantly, if he was to ever get the job, he'd come in and there's instant division within the fan base about whether he's good enough or not.
Yeah.
When you look at Poch's situation now at PSG, since we're going to entertain this conversation, he's having some struggles with balancing what is an imbalanced squad, right? Where they are quite bloated in the attacking areas. And there's very similar parallels to our team right now, where we have quite a bloated squad. Clearly, that's not the right decision to make, right? In terms of if you're looking for managerial appointments right now, or are you somebody who thinks Poch would come in and probably do a job?
I'm not against the whole Poch thing. I think I don't look at the situation with Spurs. I know, I've got some really good friends that are Spurs fans. He got to a point where he's hit a wall with it, where he wanted more investment. They weren't giving him the money. They've then thrown money at other managers. A lot of Spurs fans say if that money was thrown at Poch to give him the ability to take the squad to another level, they feel like he would have took him to another level. Sometimes you naturally, within a role, you get to a point where you've just done enough. You physically can't do any more. And I feel like that slightly would have been the situation there. The PSG thing is a freak. I think, there's so many, wannabe Galacticos there and massive, massive egos. Most managers are going to struggle within that environment. Are they going to win the Champions League? They seem to, walk the league. But I look at Tuchel. I think we just said, but before we went live, I looked at Tuchel and I wrote him off. I was like, nah, I would never have him at United. I tell you what, I would do anything to have got him out of Chelsea and got him to United now. So I don't really judge the PSG thing with Poch as a whole. I look at him and I look at the way the job he did at Southampton before he went to Spurs, and the fact that he kept Spurs consistently in the top four, or in and around the top four, shall I say, but couldn't take him to that another level. So I'm not against Poch, but I tell you something right now, I would take anybody over Ollie right now. I am in agony with what is happening at the moment, guys. So everyone, the same with Conte. I didn't really want Conte. When Jay first said to me, boy, I looked at him, I was like, he's too volatile, he's too this, he's too that. No, what he is a winner. Mm-hmm. He's a winner. And now he's gone to Spurs. I look at him on the touchline and that natural passion that he's driving the players already, and he's involved. Tottenham are not in his heart, but what's in his heart is winning. So he naturally will be that passionate. So, and then I look at Ollie, in the dugout again today, 2-0 down. He sat there. It's just painful. So yeah, I would take Poch in short. I would take
Jay, what direction would you go in right now?
I'm going to go completely left of field. Personally, I wouldn't go with Poch. He hasn't won anything. He can't manage egos at PSG. I know I said Solskjær has been given the ultimate cheat code in Ronaldo, but Poch has 5 or 6 in a PSG, and he's nowhere near, I feel, winning a Champions League. For me, I would bring in Joachim Löw, the former manager of Germany, World Cup winner. Somebody is going to come in with gravitas. He's not going to give a flying fiddler's fuck about Paul Pogba, because Paul Pogba is gone anyway. So he'll just throw him into reserves. Okay, he'd make us hard to beat. First and foremost, he'll inject some German efficiency and bring in his own coaching structure, because we're predicating this on Solskjær is sacked, Phelan, McKenna, Carrick, fitness staff, every one of them, get them out. They're useless. You bring in a German tried and tested World Cup winner as the interim manager until May. You give him a highly incentivized contract. You win FA Cup, it's X bonus. You get top 4, it's X bonus. You win Champions League, we'll give you a 2-year contract. If you fail to win a Champions League, then we put a trigger on Ten Hag or another option. So his contract becomes heavily incentivized. That's what I would do. However, that means that we're run by actual football people, which we're not. So it won't happen.
So just on that quickly before someone else picks it up. Number one, Jay, you can get away with saying things that no one else in the whole YouTube world can ever say. Like you are in your own league. But Poch isn't my choice. But you asked me like about Poch. I'm seeing people in the comments going, "The Welsh guy's deluded. Why does he want Poch?"
Yeah.
No, that was the question was put to me different. Obviously, you guys know my choice is Simeone. That's who I would go for. But yeah, I just want to clear that up.
No, fair enough. You deserve that because people do run away with these things at times. So
I was getting hammered in the comments.
Yeah. No, trust me. It happens. Look, also, guys, if you're enjoying so far, be sure to like the video, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, and apologies if you've heard any bad language at any point in the show. You know, nothing in particular, just at any point in the show if you heard any bad language. Apologies for that. Look, I think the one thing I'd say to you, Jay, because I'm sure a lot of people in chat will feel this way, and you know, it's always important to represent everyone's opinions if we can. People would go to you, going with Low is similar to going with maybe an LVG or Mourinho. You're going for someone that's arguably past their best. And also
but the key phrase I said there, Levin, was you give him a highly incentivized contract with set targets to achieve, and you're brought in as a caretaker. If you win the Champions League, we'll give you a 2-year contract. Otherwise, we'll bring in Ten Hag. It's incentivized contract.
He's actually a great start. I didn't even think of him.
And my philosophy on this is I would want to bring in a manager that's not going to care about the ego of a Paul Pogba, a Ronaldo, somebody that's going to come in and say, right, Harry Maguire, you've been underperforming. Luke Shaw, you're underperforming. Lindelof, you're underperforming. And play players based on form, not based on reputation, not based on favoritism. That is, if we're going to look for an interim manager, I don't want it to be another so-called club legend. I want it to be a manager that can come in with gravitas and who has a clearly defined tactical plan, a football philosophy, and can bring in his own coaches. That's what I want. I just picked Low because I know his organizational skills and communication skills are going to be at a very, very high level, and he's everything Solskjær isn't. As an interim, that's the key phrase, Levin.
I understand that. I agree with the whole interim aspect. I still don't agree with Joachim Low, but at the end of the day, it's all about opinions.
That's okay. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's fine. Honestly, that is fine. What I would say though is
I was going to say, who would you want to bring in, Levin?
If I could have any manager in world football that I think is like, regardless of whether they're available or not,
realistically,
somewhat realistic. Somewhat realistic, it would be Ten Hag, but I don't think he's actually realistic. I just don't think he'd leave Ajax mid-season until the end.
Someone told me though when he went to Ajax that he left mid-season to join Ajax. So he has done it before.
Sure, but I think when you look at that Ajax situation, he has a really good team. They're good in the Champions League. I just don't think he would. What I would say is, I said a couple of weeks ago on the show, and I still stand by it. I don't think we should limit ourselves. I think the standard sort of the threshold for what should qualify you to be eligible for the job, in my opinion, is somebody who domestically in a respectable league has had success, right? Not in Norway, for example. Somebody who has made waves in Europe, which, you know, the likes of, you know, whoever really you want to mention, Ten Hag, Nagelsmann, whoever it is, they've done that. Someone who's made waves in Europe at some point, and somebody who has shown that they play a great style of football and can improve players tactically, right? That is what I think should be the threshold. And there's quite a few managers that probably do fall under that. The problem is right now, the landscape of managers, it doesn't feel like there's many that are available. Like I've seen people in chat, right? Well, just some of the people in chat. I've seen people in chat going, oh, get Hansi Flick. Yeah, he's just accepted the Germany job. He's not going to be able, do you know what I mean? Like he's not just going to leave because Man United come calling when he just accepted the Germany job. So I think people, it's why it's frustrating, I think, because there are many managers who maybe fit that criteria, but a lot of them are in situations that wouldn't really make sense in terms of leaving where they're at to come to Manchester United. Somebody said Ralf Rangnick, right? Ralf Rangnick, I think, is a brilliant manager who has showed he can improve teams, but he doesn't want to be a manager. He wants to be a director of football, I'm pretty sure, or a sports director at some level. A lot of people say Zidane, and I think Zidane is the only one that's available. But of course, there's been reports that suggest he doesn't want to come to England. If those reports aren't necessarily true, if there is a chance that Zidane would accept the job if United came calling, is he the kind of manager that you'd want long term, regardless, not even considering the whole like short term thing of like, oh yeah, like if you do this by the end of the season, then you can stay. Would you sort of trust in Zidane to just, you know, maybe give him a 3-year, 4-year contract? I'll come right back to you on this one to start off with, Jay, just because I'm curious.
Look, I would certainly not be averse to a manager that has won 3 European Cup titles with Real Madrid and literally took over the shit show that was Real Madrid and turned them into winners. I certainly would not be averse to Zidane. Of course not. Because again, it's a manager that's going to come in with gravitas, his own football philosophy, and most importantly, as I stressed previously with Mr. Lowe, his own coaches, professional, elite level coaches. I would not be averse to Zidane. But if you're Zidane, just again, devil's advocate, Levin, is United a project that you would want to take over right now, knowing the limitations that would be imposed on you by Woodward and the Glazers? That's the flip side.
And Jay, I think that's a great point that not a lot of people address nowadays. I actually am of the belief as well, and I've spoken about this before, that regardless of what manager comes in, regardless of how good they are, they probably wouldn't be as successful. They probably would just be limited purely because of who's above them, right? Like just purely the structure. I think the structure above the manager is a big problem that we have. And of course, I don't want to spend too much time talking about that because at the end of the day, this is a fan forum about the game and the game was awful. So we are just talking about the manager and where you'd go beyond that. But I do think the structure above him is poor. And what shows how poor it is the fact that he's been in the job for so long. Like that alone shows how poor the structure is above him. So
can you not counter that point though and say Liverpool have an awful board as well? Klopp has barely any money to spend every season, it seems, and look how successful Klopp's been because they actually made the right choice. Brendan Rodgers wasn't even having that terrible results, better results than Ollie's having, because Jurgen Klopp was on the market. They acted, and then he's obviously been brilliant for him, and they've still put in like loads of like. Who's he signed like recently? Like he signed Thiago last summer. He signed not Upamecano. Who's the other Leipzig centre back? I've completely blanked.
Konate.
Yeah, Konate. And so they've barely signed anyone. They've barely spent anything. But Klopp has been a huge success because they made the right appointment.
But Alex, where I'd counter you and where I think maybe you don't know as much is Liverpool actually, yeah, you can say their board and their owner are bad. They haven't invested, which is true. They've not invested as much as they should have. But they do have good structure. Their director of football, Michael Edwards, is brilliant.
Yeah,
their analytics department is one of the best in world football, and that's where they thrive, right? They get good value purely based out of just analytics. You know, it's not really Moneyball, but it's similar to that aspect, right? And that's where they've had access. Plus, they have one of the best managers of this generation in Klopp, right? Which obviously does help. So, you know, it's always going to be hard to compare our situation to others. And I'll pass that same question, you know, to you guys that Jay just asked, when it comes to, is this a situation you think managers want to walk into? A lot of people in chat are frustrated, right, at what I said earlier, where I said, I don't think certain managers would even want to take it on, right? People going, well, we're Manchester United. We come knocking. Anybody should want to come to us, right? Do you feel like that is still the case? I'll start with you, Kevin, and I'll get Jordan's thoughts as well.
Yeah,
is this a situation managers want to come into? I
think a lot of top managers would look at the Manchester United job. I think you have to look at the players that we've got in that squad. And the question I was asking myself weeks and weeks ago was, would a better manager get more out of this current squad of players? And we've got an embarrassment of riches. Footballers, even going back to the team today, the bench, we had better players on the bench that started in the game. An embarrassment of riches sat on the bench. And then you look at that and you think, even like Jordan mentioned, Pochettino, one thing he did at Tottenham was improve players, made players better, whoever he brought in. The same with Klopp at Liverpool, plucks the likes of Andy Robertson, brings them in and there's a style of football on that which we do not have. And the question would be, I suppose, at Manchester United at the minute, name me one single player that Ole Gunnar Solskjær has improved in comparison to other managers that can cherry pick a player for a system, bring them in, the philosophy, whatever, and bang, they're away. They're in that team. At Manchester United, I am really, really struggling to see anyone that Solskjær, that you could say, listen, Solskjær's took Greenwood to one side. You know, he's made him step up. He's done this, that. I just don't see it. And that's a major factor in football at the minute, is getting a manager that gets the best and improves players week on week and gets every last drop out of them. Solskjær don't do that.
Just on that, I agree. I think most managers would look at our squad, look at Manchester United being the club that we are, and want to take us on and take that challenge on. But I do look at Zidane, and I can understand why 3 Champions Leagues, you know, in the locker for him. Is he going to tarnish his reputation by coming into United and not being successful there? Whereas someone like Conte has proven, has gone to different countries. He's already done in the Premier League. He knows the Premier League. I think for Zidane, it's one of those that we would have to sell him the dream that this is the right career move for him to come to us. Whereas with other managers like a Conte, I think he would have come. You know, he would have wanted to come to us. So I think that's the difference. The talk of him, Zidane, going to the France job, that makes total sense to him. He could go there.
Mm-hmm.
He's very much in his comfort zone, like he would have been at Real Madrid. He goes and does well with France, and that's another box tick in his managerial career. Does he want to get down and dirty in the Premier League? I don't know if he's got the appetite for it.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I do want to have a conversation because Kevin, you mentioned something that I think is really important, and it's something that I noticed today that was really frustrating. Players don't seem to be learning from mistakes. Players don't seem to be improving, developing, right? You know, we all talk about how there's a lack of the system. And I think what really shows that there is a lack of a system is just the fact that players don't seem to improve and understand the game better. So I noticed today, Bruno, right? There was a moment where Bruno asked Greenwood to go and press, right? And it wasn't the right time for Greenwood to go and press, right? Bruno didn't, and he was right not to because he kept the shape and it meant that we were stronger defensively. And you could see Bruno just getting angry at Greenwood for not doing it, right? And that to me says that Bruno doesn't realize, like Bruno doesn't understand defensively what the right thing to do in that situation was, which is obviously a concern, right? You'd like to think that the coaches would have explained to everybody so that everybody knows in that situation you don't do that, right? And that I think is something that has to be spoken about. And that's something that is important once we bring in whoever it is we bring in once we eventually move forward from this Ollie situation, because someone that has the ability to do that is really important, right? Like, you know, people have been talking about Conte, obviously. I know they had a bit of a rocky game in the Conference League, but I saw a clip of Conte on the touchline where he's just telling them, like, play, let's get control, play. You know, this obsession with making sure players know what it is they have to do clearly is something that has been lacking within our setup. And I think it's something that a lot of people probably have noticed as well. What is it now, right? If it is going to be, I hate to say it, guys, I know a lot of people are going to be frustrated. If it is going to be that they are going to stick with him and he has 3 more games or whatever it is that they want to call it, right? If he has 3 more games, what do you want to see him do in these 3 more games? Like what if he could actually save his job, what do you want to see him do in terms of lineup, personnel, tactical, anything? I just want to hear anything from you guys in terms of what now has to be done if Ollie will get 3 more games. Alex, you're smiling there, so I'll start with you. What do you want to see?
Well, I'd like to see, if he is getting 3 more games, to try to just the best football we played when Ollie first came in and we were 4-3-3 and we had Herrera, Pogba and Matic. And so if he has just got 3 games to save his job, then I would just try going to the 4-3-3. Whether you have, I think, as I've said so many times on the show, I think you can only have one of Pogba or Bruno in that. So just choose between one of them. Most likely Bruno, because Pogba looks like he's leaving. And then Van der Beek again. So Matic, Van der Beek, Bruno in the 4-3-3. And Bruno showed in that Spurs game that if you actually tell him to stay in position, he can actually do it. So that's why with a new manager, I would be really interested to see how Bruno develops with proper coaching. But we all know if he does get 3 more games, which he will, whatever we say doesn't change anything. He will go stick with McFred, but it's just ridiculous. And that's just what I'd want. I'd want 4-3-3, and I'd try. I know it's kind of the opposite of what I've said in the past, but I guess you could still fit him into it. Is I'd just try giving Sancho a run of games as well down the right, and then if it would have to be, I guess, Rashford and then Ronaldo up top, because you can't really drop Ronaldo. But then I wouldn't be against. I know you said, Levin, before that you don't think he could do it, of like how Cavani did play wide for PSG before, and I think if you were to like play like an interchangeable front three with like Cavani, Ronaldo, and Sancho that could potentially work to cover up with how Ronaldo isn't going to press that much. But I think it has kind of gone under the radar that Ronaldo has actually tracked back a lot more than I thought he would when we first signed him.
Jordan?
Yeah. I respect the question, Levin. I really don't want 3 more games. I just really don't want it. But if it is going to happen, someone's head needs to roll. And if it's not going to be Ollie's, he needs to move these coaches out and make a bold change and bring some experience in to support him, because he's clearly out of his depth and not getting the support from underneath him. So none of this mates rates thing, bringing ex players in. Let's go and get some experience now during this international break. So when the players come back, there's a new face that is adding a different angle to what we've been seeing recently. Yeah.
No, fair enough. And I'll address this from Kurt here. It's not so much about the individuals. And I've said before, I don't think it is right to assess individuals too much, because you're right. Like, we are changing systems too much. We are trying different things. There's not going to be cohesion there. I was just using Bruno as an example where that is a pattern across a lot of our players, where there doesn't seem to be that understanding between people there. I'll come to you on this, Jay. Do you want to see us continue with the 5 at the back? Should we just go back to the 4-2-3-1? It's a given, and I don't think you're going to disagree. But now, does the likes of Sancho and Van der Beek just have to start and get an opportunity, since when they have been on, they've shown a bit of promise there? Like, what do you want to see now if it's going to be 3 more?
Well, Evan, clearly the 5 at the back has worked a treat. We've shored up all our defensive incapacities playing 5 at the back. It's totally worked. So yeah, stay with it by all means. I just Watford away on Saturday 20th. That's a draw. Villarreal away 23rd. That's a loss or a draw. And Chelsea away on the 28th. That's a loss. There's your 3 games right there.
Yeah.
Cheers, Jay.
I can't see us winning any of those 3 games, even against Watford away. I just can't see it, lads. Because I said at the start of the show, Levin, and everybody watching, I went past. I was angry after the Liverpool loss. And when he wasn't sacked, my apathy has kicked in. So now I'm just apathetic towards the club and the manager. 3 more games. It's 2 draws and a loss. That's how I see it, if he's still in charge, which he probably will be.
Kev?
For me, the main thing he needs to do, if he's got these 3 games, is certainly not be playing 3 at the back. You have to rediscover what he brought to Manchester United in them first 10 games before he got the job full time. You go back to some kind of attacking football. The main criticism of him would be straight away, forget your favourites. Look into that squad, get a system and a balance to the team. Take the captaincy off Harry Maguire. I'm certainly not having that. Harry Maguire walking around the changing room saying to the likes of Ronaldo, "Hey, do you know who I am, mate? I've got a massive head and I used to play for Sheffield United." When Ronaldo's like, "Mate, I've got 5 Ballon d'Ors, I've won Champions Leagues, I've won this, that, do me a favour and go and sit in the corner over there." Harry Maguire's not captain material. And even seeing him in the changing room today before you go out, on the watch along, I said to Mark, gone are the days when you had Keane and Vieira in the tunnel, where games were actually won in the tunnel. You looked over at a team and you were that intimidating, you were up for it. Didn't see that from United today. And it breaks my heart to see, because I don't know whether it's a modern day thing. I understand you don't need these kind of Roy Keane characters in your team that go around kind of kicking players and that, but
Kevin, you do.
Laid a glove.
You so do.
Yeah.
You do. Yeah, man, you fucking do. Come on.
And I think Roy Keane said that after the game, didn't he? I think we picked up 1 yellow card today. 1 yellow card in a Manchester derby. And like Roy Keane said, not condoning violence, not saying go out there, but, at certain stages, when Man City are taking the piss and rolling you over and tickling your belly and just, and making an absolute laughing stock of you, there does come a point when you have to kick someone, get the crowd behind you. The other players might be inspired by it. and go, right, this is what we have to do. We're going to have to kick the shit out of them because they're better than us.
That's super.
Kevin, right,
on,
lads?
so.
We were so bad. If you watch Roy Keane's mannerisms and body language in his post match, we were so bad today that we've actually broken Roy Keane, because Roy's sitting there in between Souness and Mickey Richards, and Richards and Souness are having a go off each other about who should have stopped the cross. And you see Roy sitting there thinking, I can't believe I have to watch this shit again. We broke Roy Keane. Literally today we broke Roy Keane. That's how bad we are.
There was a super chat. There was a super chat just on the screen before that was absolutely spot on. City were 2-0 up, and Pep in the pouring rain is still telling them, giving them orders all what to do. Meanwhile, Ollie's just back in the stands on his iPad, just completely out of ideas.
Chinese for tonight.
Yeah, on Justin.
Play Football Manager.
Ollie being on his iPad playing like Flappy Bird or something is just hilarious. Like, it's just like, yeah, man, like, it's over in it. Like, it's over really in it. Hey guys, I appreciate you guys have honestly cheered me up. Right, I was very very frustrated. Drawty was here right before, and he was literally like, you couldn't talk to me because I just wouldn't respond. I was just flipping distraught. But you guys have made it a bit more bearable for me. My weekend is still ruined, as I'm sure a lot of people's in the chat will be as well. But hopefully we can, hopefully you guys can all enjoy something that you love beyond just football, and take your mind away from things. I appreciate all you guys hanging out. Guys, you've all been amazing. Where can the people find you, Kev?
Kev Ashford on YouTube, Twitter at Kevin Ashford 7, and on Instagram at Kevin Ashford 7. Thank you very much. Like I say, I think we need to rename the fan forum the therapy forum, because it's very, very, and the Liverpool one was difficult, but this, I'm not saying we're a bit more upbeat. I just think there's an acceptance now that we're all even like Jay says, if Roy Keane's broken and he's saying, I'm done, we're all like that now. So we're kind of over it, aren't we? But yeah, great to be on, mate.
Jay, where can the people find you, my friend?
Hi, Levin. It's easy. It's at JDailyUTD on Instagram and Twitter. And Kevin summed up there the fact that even Roy Keane is broken, and we're just now literally in acceptance. That's just how it is. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But,
Ollie's got blood on his hands. You do not break Roy Keane. Anyone that breaks Roy Keane, honestly.
Jordan, what are you getting up to this weekend? Where can the people find you?
Guys, let me just tell you a quick story about last night, just really quickly. Last night, a DJ at a club, there was a guy dancing with his missus stood next to the DJ box, kept trying to get my attention. As my set finished, I've come out the DJ box, he's tapped me and gone, really good set, mate. I said, oh, thanks, mate. He said, let me ask you a question. Where did you watch the Liverpool game? And as he said that, he rolled his sleeve up and he had a massive Liverpool badge on his arm. The guy waited for me for a good 40 minutes to hammer me. And I know it's incoming again all weekend. So that's what he's done to me.
Guys. Spare my guy Jordan this weekend, please. If you see him, do not antagonize him.
Just leave me. Let me live. Just let me live.
Alex, where can the people argue with you on Twitter? What's your at? Where can they argue with you? Go on.
AA_UTD on Twitter and Instagram. And what Jordan said is so true. It's like I went back to the office for the first time on Monday after COVID, and I was just getting rinsed all day about the Liverpool game. So now I just know I'm going to walk in on Monday and just get absolutely rinsed again. And I got away with it for 2 years, but now it's back to reality.
Yeah, sadly. Guys, it's been a pleasure. My name's Levin Suke. My name's Levin Suke. You can call me Daniel, though. That's my name as well. But Levin Suke, you can find me anywhere. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you guys all soon. I'm sure there's going to be some match reactions as well on the channel, so be sure to stick around and, make sure you got your notifications on so you can see all of those. We will see you guys all another time. Good evening.